Hello, everybody, and everybody who is joining us live, or if you may be watching this on YouTube after the fact. My name is Sharmanique Anderson. I am a full-time business owner and the founder of Miss Right on Time. My business focuses on providing career development services for professionals across all levels. I specialize in creating game-changing resumes and supporting documents such as cover letters and salary negotiation statements. I provide career coaching and interview coaching services. Over the last 5 years, I have helped thousands of people across all industries, across the country and out of the country as well, navigate their careers and realize their worth. So I just want to talk to you guys a little today about resume writing, hopefully help you create the best resume ever or a game-changing resume, as I like to say. I like to just jump right in and talk about myself a little bit, talk about what led me to create my business, why I think resume writing is very important, why I believe career coaching is very important as well. I started my business, like I said, 5 years ago, fresh out of college. I remember trying to navigate the job search process by myself. I'm feeling so much uncertainty. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in English, and with that, everyone thought I wanted to be a teacher. I definitely didn't want to be a teacher. I love teachers. I love all my professors, but that's just not for me. I At least not in a class or a traditional classroom setting. I love teaching people about resume writing and different things like that, but definitely not your traditional teacher. So once I realized that I was getting a lot of interviews and a lot of my colleagues and counterparts were not, I decided to take a look at their resumes, and I was like, no, this is all wrong. Like, you need to really focus on creating a resume that's going to attract the recruiters. You can't have a general resume. You need to use these keywords and those keywords, and then after that, they started getting interviews and things like that. And I realized that I had a gift. I already knew I had a gift for writing, but resume writing I decided was going to be my focus. And since then, I've been writing resumes and I haven't looked back. And now I just want to kind of jump into talking about a resume in general and why I believe it is important and why I believe you should believe it's important. Everyone knows what a resume is, but why is it important? It's important because it's essentially a marketing document for you. It serves as your personal brand during your job search. It's extremely important and should be taken very seriously. You should view your resume as the foundation, like I said, for your personal brand. So it's the first things that many employers are going to look at when considering you as an applicant. A lot of the times I cross paths with so many people who are really qualified, but they have subpar resumes. And this is problematic because they are literally holding themselves back from amazing opportunities. If I have colleagues who I had colleagues when I was working full time and still running my business who were so instrumental in my organization. They contributed so much, and then when I would look at their resume, I'm like, well, this isn't reflective of that at all. You really need to be focusing on illustrating your impact and your to the organization and the things that you've achieved. You shouldn't be using a job description in place of a resume. So if your resume currently looks like a job description and you're just copying and pasting a job description, that's really selling yourself short. You really need to be focusing on your personal experiences because your resume is not a job description. Your resume, anybody can have the same job title, anybody can have the same job description, but your experiences are unique to yourself. So I really want you to keep that in mind. If you don't already, I would like you to pull out your resume if you already have one and a pen and paper, because I'm going to try my best to guide you through writing a resume that's going to definitely change the game for you. The first part of writing a resume anybody should do is really reflect on themselves, because a resume is reflective of your personal career journey. It's reflective of the skill sets that you've learned. It's reflective of the experiences that you've gained and the contributions that you've made. So it's important, it's imperative to really, really, really dig deep and ask those hard questions. Figure out what it is that you want. Questions that I encourage my clients to ask themselves include: do I feel fulfilled and satisfied in my career or my current career path? if you just graduated college, do I feel empowered by my degree? Do I want to continue in a traditional career in my degree? Let's say you graduated with a bachelor's in marketing. Is marketing really for you? A lot of the times I have clients who finish their coursework and they're like, no, I really don't want to do marketing, or I don't want to be in public relations, or, I don't want to go to law school anymore. But I've got this degree, so I have to. You don't necessarily have to, because your degree is so broad. A lot of the times that the experiences that you've gained through the coursework can really be translated into other experiences that can speak to other roles. I have clients who transition from a marketing role to human resources because they realized that's really what they wanted to do. So I always encourage yourself to really dig deep first before you start writing. It's really important. If you are, let's just say, entry level professional and you already graduated college and you are on a career path, I urge you to think about, what am I most proud of in my career? What are some of the biggest challenges that I've overcome? How have I impacted the organizations that I've worked for? And these questions will allow you to really reflect and understand how you've contributed, again, to the organizations that you've worked for, and how your personal skill set positions you as an ideal candidate. So once you reflect on your responses to those questions, I then want you to think about the type of opportunities you want to pursue. If you're looking to transition careers, if you're looking to gain further experience, or, a different level of experience in your current field, it's important to just think about, what is my ideal company looking for in an employee? How can I present myself in the best light? What skills and experiences do I have that relate to this particular job? Am I aligned with the company's core values? What am I really looking for? What does my ideal company look like? So once you think about that, I want you to write all of this down, because when you write it down, it makes it real. I write down everything, different thoughts that come to my mind as I'm writing, as I'm working with clients, as I'm revising a resume. I like to write things down and make them real. But if you prefer to take notes on a computer or things like that, just get it out of your brain and get it onto paper so that you can start to feel good about yourself. Because when you start thinking about these things, and you start feeling good about yourself, you feel empowered. You feel like you really, really want to do this, to you're ready to take the next step. And then the next step will be, just sitting down and writing your resume. But before we get to that, I want to break down some resume myths, because a lot of the times I come across people, clients, students, and they ask me the same questions over and over again. The number one being, should my resume only be one page? What if I have a resume that's 2 pages? That's the ongoing myth in the resume writing world. Your resume absolutely does not have to be only 1 page. However, you need to focus on content quality over length. So it's different if you are a student or you are just graduating college and you don't have that much experience. You probably don't need a 2-page resume, but if you're an entry-level professional, or let's say a mid-level professional, you probably do need a 2-page resume. If you have like 10 years of experience, that's totally fine. Feel free to use that second page, but make sure you make it count. So I would say 95% of my clients have 2-page resumes, and they are wildly successful in their job search. So don't get discouraged if you cannot fit everything on 1 page, because that's totally not necessary. Another thing that I come across is clients asking me, am I supposed to put my entire work history on my resume? Like, if I'm a senior level employee, I just did a resume review for a client today. She is a C-level executive for a big company here in Maryland, and she had experiences on there from 1990, and I'm like, no, you gotta get that off of there. We need to focus on the last 10 years and make it count, because that's what counts. A lot of the times, the experiences that from the 90s are unfortunately irrelevant in today's society. The way things were done back then, they are just not done like that now. So recruiters and hiring managers, they don't care about that. They honestly just don't care about that. They want to know about what you're doing now, what's relevant, how it relates. And then also piggybacking off of that, I always tell my clients to focus on the last 10 to 15 years of relative experience, but relevant being the key word. So let's just say you worked in you were a child care assistant back in college, but now you're looking for human resources roles. You've had a lot of internships and things like that. That child care experience can be omitted. You don't need to focus on anything that's irrelevant. That can't be really translated into a human resources in a human resources capacity. So just focus on relevance when you're writing your resume, and don't worry about length. Worry about content rich quality papers. So now, if you, like I said, grab your resume, grab a pen and paper, and I'm going to walk you through the essential components of a resume. So let's talk about appropriate contact information. So by appropriate, I mean I want you to have your full name. I want you to have a professional email address. So if you have your email address that you had in college and it's pretty girl rock 123, I don't want to see that. Employers don't want to see that. Recruiters don't want to see that. You want to create a professional email address. It's free on Google. Just create a Gmail account. Also, refrain from using your full mailing address. Stick to just the city, zip, and state. That just opens up a whole can of worms in itself. You don't want your resume to be floating out on the internet and have your address on it, because that's just not safe, and it's not necessary either. Now that practice is outdated because a lot of times people were mailing in their resumes back in the day. We're not doing that anymore. It's pretty much totally online. The next component of your resume is a professional summary. So if you have an objective on your resume, you need to ditch it. Objectives are now obsolete. Companies don't want to know what you want from them. So if your objective says, I want to utilize my skills to help further your company and create efficiency, employers don't really care about that. They don't. If your objective is to get the position because you're applying for it. So your professional summary is something that you should create, and I'll talk about that a little later, what a professional summary is, and how to create one. The next logical step will be your professional experience. The only reason that your education will go before at the top will be if you're a very, very recent graduate and you're using that experience to qualify you for a position. Otherwise, your education should follow your professional experience. And then for some industries, there are supplemental sections that you can have. Like if you're in IT, it will be ideal to create a section for your experience with technology, the different systems, the different softwares. If you're in marketing, it would be ideal to create a list of different applications that you're familiar with: Canva, Adobe. What else? If you're in healthcare, it will be advantageous to create a section where you have your EMR that you work with, or EHR, different things like that. So those are the supplemental sections. Proper formatting is key. You definitely want to make sure that your resume is clear and concise. You're using an adequate amount of white space. You don't want, like I said, to be trying to jumble everything on the paper. Use your white space accordingly. Focus on creating a resume that is legible and appropriately spaced. Use bullet points effectively. Avoid paragraphs of text at all costs, except for the professional summary, which is going to be about 4 to 5 sentences. But otherwise, for your professional experience, you want to be using bullet points. I always tell my clients to create bullet points that are impactful. So don't just have fluff bullet points with responsible for this or led this or led that. You want to make sure that you are creating bullet points that are effectively illustrating your experience and your impact. Keep them to 2 lines or less. After that, it gets to look a little bit too much like a paragraph. By keeping it this way, you make your resume very skimmable. So you're able to look at the resume. Recruiters are able to look at the resume and really just skim and get to the parts and the information that they want to look for. And let's just say a recruiter is looking for a specific type of skill or a specific type of software or a specific type of experience. They can, go to different sections and find it easily. I would definitely avoid fluff on your resume. Key phrases. I'm a team player with interpersonal skills. That can be woven into the resume, but don't have it just floating in the air just because you think it sounds good. Make sure that it's definitely something that is going to have an impact, because you literally have 15 seconds or less to impress a recruiter or hiring manager, so you really want to make it count. So, with that being said, I'm going to double back and talk about the professional summary a little bit. A professional summary is really great because think of it as a synopsis of your professional experience. So, if your professional work history was a movie, it's the highlight reel. So you want to really engage the reader right then and there. A powerful professional summary begins with your most relevant skills and experience. A lot of times that's your education. So if you have a master's degree, if you have a bachelor's degree, if you have 15 years of experience, you need to be including that in the professional summary. So a professional summary would go a little like this. Results driven leader with an MBA in supply chain management, adept at leading change management and process improvement initiatives that align with operational objectives. Well versed in managing budgets of 100 million, well versed in leading teams, creating training processes, creating standard operating procedures, different things like that. You want to off the bat show your impact and highlight what you have experience doing. Now, this is really, you have to be really strategic in it, because sometimes you have to change your professional summary as it relates to the position. So you want to make sure that you are always taking a candid look at the positions that you're applying for and highlighting the skills that they want to see. So again, if you're applying, let's just say, I keep deferring to marketing because that's what I did before I started transition to full-time entrepreneurship. So with marketing, if I am if a job description is asking, for experience with Adobe and Canva and different things like that, that's definitely going to be in my bullet points. I'm going to say something like, I created brochures and documents using Canva that were published on the website. I created Instagram posts or Facebook posts that achieved 15% readership or click-through rate or different things like that. You want to be using numbers throughout your resume at all times. So I kind of want to talk about creating the content that attracts recruiters, because again, resume writing is all about reflecting on your personal experiences and positioning yourself in the best light. So with that being said, I always encourage my clients to ask themselves questions like, how does the work I perform affect the daily operations of the company? So that could be, let's just say if I'm in healthcare and I'm a front desk associate, I am impacting the company because I'm the front line of customer service. I am getting the patients in. I'm scheduling the patients. I'm making sure that the doctor is being productive by managing the schedule well. I'm prioritizing workflows. It's not just I schedule patients. You have a greater impact than that. But you have to make sure it's your job to illustrate that impact. So I have tons of clients in healthcare, and I see the same job description over and over again. Schedules patients, greets patients, cleans up reception area, relays messages to the doctor, different things like that. But then when I really start to ask them the questions that matter, they all of a sudden they're superheroes now. They're like, oh wow, well, I did this and I did that, and I really had an impact this way, and I was commended for my ability to do this. So I'm like, okay, so this is the type of things that should be on the resume. This is the type of things that are going to attract recruiters. These are the key words that recruiters want to see: optimize productivity, led the patient schedule for 23 providers, scheduled 150 appointments a day. Using numbers in itself can be very impactful. So at the very least, include numbers, quantify. That's what it's called. Quantify your experience whenever possible. So by including those numbers, you're showing recruiters and hiring managers how much work you're able to handle. So there's a difference between somebody who is working at a private practice with one doctor and only scheduling 15 appointments a day, communicating with 20 patients a day, as opposed to somebody who's scheduling for a radiology practice with 17 locations throughout the state, talking to upwards of 100 people a day, maintaining, toggling through different schedules is totally different. So that's what I mean by illustrate impact. So I just want to share an experience that I had earlier in the week. Again, I have dozens of clients all over the country and across different industries. So I was doing a resume earlier this week, and this particular client, she's in broadcast journalism, and she was talking about her experiences, and she's like, Charmaine, I really just don't think that I've had an impact at all. Like, I go to work and I do my work, and I'm having a hard time conveying that. And once I started asking her the right questions, what problems have you resolved? What problems or issues have you mitigated? Have you developed any processes? Have you standardized any workflows? Once I start asking my clients those questions, again, they just open up, and they show themselves, they show me, and they show themselves, and then ultimately I show employers that they are valuable, that they can be an asset to the organization that they're looking to apply to. So I urge you just to ask yourself the hard questions. Ask yourself, have I developed any standard operating procedures? Do I prepare reports on a daily basis? Have I contributed to the training process in any way? Have I created training resources or job aids? Have I saved the company any time, money, or resources? Have I trained or coached anyone? Literally ask yourself, if I stopped doing my job, what would happen? If I just didn't show up to work one day and I didn't have a replacement, and I just said forget all about it, how would that affect the company? Because that's how you matter. No matter what your job role is, you matter. You have an impact in some type of way. It might not be the same experience as your coworkers. So if you're a front desk person and your coworkers are front desk person as well, you both copy and paste the job descriptions on the resume. That's not going to do either one of you any justice, because your experiences are very different. She might have, I don't know, she might have redeveloped the standardized training format for the front desk people, and you might have reduced errors by implementing an Excel spreadsheet that track different metrics and data. So your experiences are relative or unique to you, and you need to really focus on displaying that in your resume. So you need to just think about, again, yourself. So if you're in the healthcare field, and you are, let's say you are auditing documents, or you're auditing patient charts and things like that, how have you identified errors? How have you saved the company money? How have you mitigated against liability issues, liability concerns? You keep abreast of HIPAA laws and things like that. If you're in IT, let's say you handle 53 tickets requests a day, you're troubleshooting help desk issues, you are helping with developing a workbook of common issues, so that then you can disseminate that to the organization, and then the organization can self troubleshoot some things. So that's actually like things that my clients are doing, and I know that you guys are potentially doing those as well. So you just need to be thinking about that. If you're in the education field, maybe you took on a team lead position. Maybe you implemented technology into the coursework. Maybe you created a culture of inclusiveness. Maybe you created PowerPoints that promote equity. Just think about different things like that, because people fail to forget that the details matter. They don't remember that the smallest things the smallest things to you can have a big impact, because it's all about productivity, efficiency at the bottom line. So organizations want to make sure that they're paying you to do a task, and you're doing it well, and then all along the way you're figuring out ways to make it better. And I know that you guys are doing that. And if you're fresh out of college and you are struggling because you haven't had a formal job or anything yet, first of all, I always urge anybody out of college to always complete internships, whether they're paid or unpaid. They can really help shape your career. But let's just say you didn't have an internship, and that's fine. Volunteer. Because volunteer experience can take you a long way, especially if the hours are documented, especially if the experience is real. I have clients who volunteer with different organizations, different hospitals, different churches, different, different just organizations in general, and they definitely are coming in and creating efficiencies and having an impact, and all of that stuff, it can be on your resume and it should be on your resume. So you just need to really figure out how your personal experiences can be translated in a way that attracts recruiters. Because let's just say you want to go into marketing and you walked into your neighborhood sushi shop and you're like, yeah, you guys aren't having enough traffic in here, and I'll volunteer my time to help you guys, ramp up your social media, get together your image, get together your brand, increase your followers. I say that because, again, I always divert to marketing, but it's important to just think about that in that way. Excuse me. So with that in mind, make sure that you are documenting every experience that you have, big or small, because a lot of times we become discouraged because we think paid work is the only work that belongs on a resume. If you're in photography and you filmed your best friend's wedding, that is an experience. Let's just say your best friend's wedding is now on the website. You can create a digital portfolio, express yourself in that way, do freelance work, start a business. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be your life's work. It doesn't have to be your mission in life, but start a business, just to get your foot in the door. I thought that's what I was doing. When I started my business, I thought that it was just, always going to be just a side hustle. But once I saw the way that I was impacting people and changing their lives, there was no way that I could not ever do this for the rest of my life. So that's what I'll be doing. But again, I have friends who did start businesses just to get their foot in the door, or just to fill in gaps on their resume, different things like that. But to go back to writing the achievement based content, you want to be definitely using words, keywords. You want it to be resume writing is an art, it's a skill. So you really want to make sure that your words are woven in a way that is interesting, that you're using the keywords from the job description. So it's important to, like I said, do the groundwork first. Think about what it is that you want to do, narrow your focus, find some job descriptions, and analyze them. See what they want in an employee. See what they want. See what their ideal candidate is, and then begin the hard work on your resume, because that's very important. That's instrumental. That's going to save you so much time on the back end, if you really do the work in the beginning. So I want to then touch on resume action verbs. What are those? Resume action verbs are words to replace the boring words that you use all the time, like responsible for, led, function as. You want to make it exciting. So all of my clients' resumes are chock full of resume action verbs. So the next time you're writing or you're considering rewriting your resume, instead of saying you led something, you can then say I chaired this, or I chaired, or I authored, or I headed, operated, orchestrated, programmed. Use those words because they sound more exciting. They are very assertive. They show and illustrate impact. So instead of saying responsible for, I don't know, I keep diverting the front desk too, responsible for front desk operations for a private practice. You would a creative way and a justified way that I would say this and kind of spin it would be successfully contributed to the productivity and efficiency of a multi-location private practice with 23 doctors, with the main focus on scheduling appointments that result in adequate patient flow. So that sounds a lot better than, I think you guys would agree, than the former. If you communicated something, you can use words like addressed, clarified, explained, interpreted. So you want to, again, be assertive. So you didn't just communicate. You addressed the stakeholders in the meeting. You know what I mean? Like you facilitate a meeting. You facilitated a meeting. If you're doing volunteer work, you explain the organization's policies and procedures to whomever their target audience is. Let's just say you develop something. Another word you can use for that will be engineered, formalized, implemented, introduced, spearheaded. Different words like that. Those words command attention. So use them to your advantage. You collaborated. So instead of collaborated, you can say co-produced, engaged, partnered, strategized, synchronized. Those words, again, grab the reader's attention. With that being said, when you're writing your resume, I just want to kind of quickly recap. Pay attention to number one, yourself. Reflect on yourself. Understand yourself. Understand your future goals, your future objectives, because that's going to take you further in the long run. And then get really focused and prepared. Look at job descriptions. Understand what your ideal job is going to be. Study the job descriptions. Have the job descriptions printed out. Look at the keywords. Highlight the keywords that you can use honestly in your resume. Sit down, write a clean, properly formatted resume that hits all the points that I already talked about. Appropriate contact information, professional summary, professional work history, education, certifications as well, because certifications are definitely important. Software proficiency, technology proficiency, different things like that. You definitely want to have all those industry related sections in your resume. So all in all, if you really take these steps to get to know yourself, develop a job search strategy, write a compelling resume, and have a little faith, I am 100% confident that you'll be interviewing like never before. With that being said, again, I run a full-time business, helping people just like you navigate their career search, understanding their self-worth, understanding that they really make a difference in the organizations that they work for. I jokingly, but honestly really say that I specialize in helping people eradicate self-doubt, and really understand their worth, because once you have a really great resume, everything else is history. You feel empowered. You feel like you can then take on the world. Those jobs that you felt like you didn't want to apply to before, you now feel empowered to apply to. That happens to my clients all the time. They're like, oh no, I didn't think I was qualified for this position, but now after you wrote my resume, I feel qualified. Like I know I'm qualified. I see that I'm qualified. So definitely take yourself on a journey of understanding, and just write your resume, get it together, reach out to me for help. You can find me on Instagram at Miss Right on Time. So that's MISSWRITE on time. That is my website as well. Feel free to shoot me an email at info@missrightontime.com. Also, I do want to say that anybody who is listening to this broadcast live or in the future, I did just write a book on resume writing that I think that you will find, that I hope that you will find super helpful. And I know that it's helped a lot of people already. I will be offering it at a discounted price, so it'll be 50% off. The promo code will be FYG50. So Fine and Grind 50. And you'll just need to have that code and put it on my website, and then you'll be able to have that 50% off code. I think that we have some questions in the chat, so I'm just going to pull those up and see that if I can address as many as I can. Do I need a good layout, a manicured resume? Absolutely. You definitely need an aesthetically pleasing resume, because that takes the guesswork out for the recruiter. If I see a resume that has a compromising layout, or it's too confusing, or I can't tell, a lot of the times people have like their employer and their position title and their employment date all jumbled up, and it's hard to just kind of to break them apart. It's important to make sure that your layout is one that is skimmable. That's the biggest part, skimmable. So with that being said, layout does matter. Google proper formatting for resumes, and see how people are utilizing white space. That was a good question. So do I need to write a cover letter? Oh, I wanted to touch on cover letters, but I felt like I was going to run out of time. You definitely, I tell my clients, don't skip the cover letter. If you've already done the hard work to get the resume done, write the cover letter, because cover letter puts you in that top 10%. I know that that is like in line with Find Your Grind message for this week. Cover letters show that you are going the extra mile to really get this job. A cover letter is a way for you to be personal, so more personal than a resume. So your resume, it complements your resume. So your resume outlines your professional history, but your cover letter is the perfect time to illustrate your impact. So in cover letters, you should definitely be including important details about how you've impacted the organization. So, next question: should I follow up, and how many times? So, it's hard to answer that question because it depends on the current status of your application. So if you applied and you're just waiting to hear back something, there's really no reason to follow up at that point. But let's say you're working with a recruiter, and the recruiter, you've already done the interview, or you're looking to land the interview. I would say follow up with the recruiter, because the recruiter's job is to get you a job. They get paid by getting you a job. So I would definitely follow up, establish a relationship with recruiters. I always tell people a recruiter is your best friend. If you can go on LinkedIn and and establish a relationship with a recruiter, they will do the hard work for you. Next question: if I want to work in a different city that I'm living in, should I say I live in that current city? Good question. So, um, a lot of the times employers want candidates who they know already live in that city, but if you're willing to relocate, that should be apparent in your resume. So, like I said, setting up the contact information, you should have your name, your address, with your city, state, and zip, your telephone number, different things like that. You definitely need to put willing to relocate. And in your cover letter, that should be listed as well, and you should be specific. I'm willing to relocate, and I'm willing to assume 100% of the relocation fees. So then what if I didn't go to college or finish college, but the internship requires it? Any tips on getting that experience? So honestly, I will say, in my experience, I have a lot of clients who started college, didn't finish, had some college credits, but are still thriving in their careers. So my number one advice would be to just apply anyway, but with a really, really, really strong resume that highlights your experience. And if it's an internship that you're trying to get, have you can always list the coursework that you've already done, number of credits, relevant courses, and different things like that. Internships, a lot of the times, are for people in college or out of college, so that gets kind of tricky. So if you were just to be applying, let's just say, to an entry level role because you don't plan on finishing college, definitely experience can definitely trump college sometimes. And I also have clients who apply to jobs that say they require a degree, but once somebody looks at their resume and see all the experience that they have, they still get hired anyway. I have a lot of client testimonials about that. Feel free to check that out on my website, or not, on my Instagram. Should I hire someone to write a resume? So I think I might be biased in answering that question because I am a resume writer and that's how I make all my money. But I would say that the investment is definitely worth it. And I would encourage you to go onto my Instagram at Miss Right on Time, MISSWRIT on time, and look at all my client testimonials, because I have been instrumental in helping so many people. I love it. I'm not just in it for the money. I literally love helping people navigate their careers. So again, not to just be shamelessly plugging myself, but it is worth the investment. Next question. I'm fresh out of college. Would I make a section for volunteer internship, or would that be under work experience portion? Excellent question. You need to have that under professional experience, because that is experience that you have gained. That is experience that is relevant. So you don't have to have a volunteer internship section. If you volunteered, you can put that as your position title, and then go on to talk about your experiences. What about pictures? Next question. What about pictures? How many bullet points should be under each specific job? No, 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 no pictures. That No, no pictures. LinkedIn is where you put a picture, not on your resume. You do not need a picture on your resume. How many bullet points should be under each specific job? That depends. That depends on how much experience you have. That depends on your industry. That depends on um how far you are, how high you are up in your career field. If you're a mid-level, senior level, different things like that. I don't have a specific number, but I would say at least four, no more than 10. But when you get up to 10, you want to make sure that those bullet points matter. So you don't want to have fluff bullet points. If you have 10 bullet points, each one of those bullet points should matter. It should be, I created XYZ. I improved efficiency by 50%. I did this and that. It should be very, very, very concrete and specific. What will be more important, internships or mentorships network? I don't I don't think, well, I don't think that I want to get into which is more important and instead focus on both are valuable. Internships definitely give you a solid, concrete experience that is going to be valuable on your resume. Mentorships as well. Mentorships can teach you a lot of things. They can help you develop a lot of skills. And then networking, that's a beast of its own. Networking is definitely a good way to understand people in your industry or the potential industry that you want to get into. Networking can open a lot of doors. I know you guys see the quote, networking can open doors that degrees can't. That's true because a lot of times, networking, if you establish a relationship with somebody who is instrumental or influential in their company, they can get you in the door off of their name. So I would say do all of it if you can. I mean, if it doesn't have to be one or the other, just focus on what's going to work best for you. What do you think the future of work? Must need to get a post-secondary education, just freelance, gig, corporate? So I'm not sure that I really understand that question. So maybe you're asking, what do I think of the future of work in terms of how COVID-19 is impacting it, or just in general? But I would say that again, your experience is relative to yourself. I think that if you want to get a degree, get a degree. If you want to freelance, freelance. If you want to be corporate. But be strategic about it. Take a look at yourself. What do you want to do? A degree isn't necessary to have a thriving career. Trust me, it just isn't. Freelance work. That's how I started. I started off freelancing, I guess that's what you would call it, for my friends, writing their resumes, helping them proofread their papers. I did it, I didn't have an email address set up. I just text me if you need help, and then next thing you know, they gave my phone number to somebody else. And I did work in the corporate world for a little while as well. I enjoyed the corporate world, but once I realized the freedom of entrepreneurship and being a business owner, I never look back. But that's not for everybody. My best friend, she's thriving in the corporate world. She loves corporate world. She loves advancing in her career, and she actually she just started a job as a senior administrative assistant for a Fortune 500 company, and she does not have a degree. She is making a lot of money. And I don't want to take all the credit saying her resume is the only reason. It's not her resume that's the reason why she's thriving. It's that her experience is accurately portrayed on her resume. Okay. Should I send a resume to info at email or person? So are you talking about for me? So if you're talking about for me, you should send it to info at missrightontime.com. If you're talking about a job, I guess you're talking about me. So yeah, so info at missrightontime.com. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for tonight. I really appreciate everybody who is tuned in, who's looking at this at a later date. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that you understand the importance of a resume, the importance of really understanding yourself and getting to know yourself. Again, you can find me on my website, missrightontime.com. So that's MISSWRIGHTEONTIME.com. Miss Right on Time. You can also find me on Instagram at Miss Right on Time. Please feel free to follow me because I always, I periodically, I haven't been as fortunate enough lately to do it because I've been extremely busy. But I do offer free resume reviews periodically. So a resume review is just me basically going through your resume, giving you tips and strategies to make it better. A lot of clients, after they do the resume review, if they're really committed to fixing their resume, they take the information from the resume review and create a powerful resume. So again, definitely reach out to me if you need some help. Again, my book will be 50% off. All you have to do is use the code FYG50, and it will allow you to have 50% off the book. I hope you enjoy it. And thank you. It's been really great sharing my experience with you guys and talking a little bit about myself and helping and hopefully helping you navigate your career journey in such a difficult time like this. Thanks again.